sir, with you. Saying it is morally incorrect. Taking their Bible, going through verse by verse. And when I say their Bible, I mean their translation of it. Come with their white Jesus picture and showing him as an example. Arguing with them axiologically, getting our best philosophers and theologians to deal with the whole ethical issues of how do we begin to deal with the axiomatic value sequence that holds together an orderly universe. How do we begin to juxtapose the behaviors that are contradictory to a value system representing high ethical possibilities at the same kind of contradictory thing. I'll let you know, like, that's crazy. But rather than we have wasted so much time doing that, if we put a fraction of that energy into educating our own babies and letting them know who they are. Listen. If we had spent that amount of time looking at the spiritual energy in us and seeing how far God has brought us. I'm getting ahead now, I don't want to get to that. But when we can look and see the greatness that's here, we wouldn't be looking out trying to expect him to change. You would understand that everybody else understands. When you stand up in your own dignity and self-respect and do what you can to operating at the highest levels of civilization, you don't have to beg. People will willingly come around and begin to work with you. Willingly. Look, as long as the Japanese were in a state of subservience, in a small number, basically seeking acceptance, while quietly working on the home front, within the confines of their own culture, within the confines of their own values, building an alternative to what America was offering, quietly doing it, and they didn't know what was happening. They thought that they could treat the Japanese anyway. Japanese didn't ask for reparations 3 years ago. They asked for reparations 50 years ago. When they got out the concentration camps, they said, I want my reparation. You took our jobs, you took our houses, you robbed us of our money. Give us our stuff back. We are Americans. They say, forget you. You say, you look like Japs. And a Jap is a Jap is a Jap is a Jap. I don't care if you went to the University of California at Berkeley, you're a Jap. I don't care how well you speak English, you're a Jap. I don't care how many degrees you got, you're a Jap. I don't care if you're a Christian, you're a Jap. I don't care if you're a Catholic, you're a Jap. That's the way the white supremacy mind operated. But once the Japs understood that we must preserve the integrity of our own culture, our own dignity, our own respectability. Listen. Once the quote-unquote Japs begin to bring their children home in the afternoons from the public schools and sit down with them and say, this is what you are. This is what happened to us in Hiroshima. This is what happened to us in Nagasaki. This is what is happening to will happen to us again if you don't understand who you are and what your responsibility is. And as they said that to them consistently, a generation of Japanese children mastered the best of Western technology, worked with the best of Japanese technology, and now everybody is asking the Japanese, Daddy, may I? They are. And look what happened. Suddenly out of nowhere, the Congress decides, we are now going to give you reparations. And you say, well, damn, I don't need it now. Your money ain't no good. The yen is better than the dollar. Pay me in yen. Pay me in yen. Don't give me no dollar. But you see, they got that respect once they'd gone inside. Once they had understood to educate their own children, build their own economy, use their skills and technology to develop their own communities, they kept smiling and being cordial and doing what they had to do, but they went home. They didn't try to leave and everybody go back to Japan. They stayed here. They say, we worked here in California, we're going to stay here. And they stayed and they watched and they studied and they built, but they did not lose sight of who they were. And as a result of that, everybody in America and every place else, they can't stand them, but they respect them. But you see, you trying to get liked. You trying to get somebody to like you. They don't like me. They call me a nigger. They gonna hit me upside my head. How could they treat me that way? What you expect? You see, if we had spent less time trying to get liked, trying to get accepted, we would be much farther along than we are. Simple as that. Simple as that. Okay. Now, my point is that we have been operating out of the Columbian mindset. We've been operating out of the consciousness that has not permitted us to do what self-sufficient, intelligent people know to do. Operating out of a paradigm that is their own. Now, we are suggesting that one of the solutions, one of the strategies, and please understand, in war, there are multiple strategies. One of our difficulties is that we want everybody to go the same way. All right? You can be united without being uniform. You've got people to work in every avenue they work in. They simply have got to know what the agenda is. Now, when you question their loyalty to the agenda, then you want to pull them back and say, let's talk quietly. Well, let's talk quietly. If you don't like the way Commissioner Price does it, good. Don't you dare get on public radio and let all these crackers in Dallas know about that. You're a fool. You're a fool. You'd better not do it. Listen, listen. You are a worse enemy than anybody else. You're the enemy. How can you tear down somebody who's fighting for you? If you don't like the way they're fighting, call them up. I would have talked to you at McDonald's in the back room, because I don't like the way you're doing this way. Do you have to talk so loud, be so bold, be so arrogant? Why you keep on going back and causing trouble all the time? And he'll explain to you in a very patient way. He ain't gonna stop going, but he would explain to you while he's doing it. Diane Ragsdale, Sister Ragsdale here, worked hard. Every time you looked around, she was doing something. But you know what? I don't even know the dynamics. I'd be willing to bet you some Negroes brought her down. I'd be willing to bet you. Even though I understand about redistricting and all this stuff, and I understand about white folks doing what they do, but I also believe that if this city had come together and said, this is our warrior, this is our Joan of Arc, this is our Nzinga, this is our Queen Hatshepsut, this is a woman who is going to battle over and over again on our behalf. If you had just done that, they would not have been able to touch her with a 10-foot pole. But you see, we let our best get wiped out. If anything ever happens to John Wiley Price, Dallas will be doomed through eternity. We'll be doomed. Because if it happens, it will happen only because you don't understand the personification in him for you. And they will only come at him when they're convinced you won't do anything about it. That's when they'll do it. That's when they'll do it. Okay. I'll never get all finished today on all these asides. Let's go back down. Okay, so the pre-Columbia pharaonic consciousness had three basic qualities. One quality was the understanding of the fundamental relationship of man to God. In other words, the fundamental assumption in the pre-Columbian African consciousness saw the relationship, the responsibility, and the fundamental ontology, that is the beingness, the reason for being, as rooted in man and his relationship to the Creator. Doesn't matter whether it was called Ptah, or Ra, or Allah, or Jah, or Jehovah, doesn't matter. It was an understanding and a conceptualization that there is an invisible source behind all things that serves as the integrator, serves as the generator, serves as the ultimate reason for being. And all things are at best a manifestation of this invisible source and force. Now that understanding was so fundamental to Nile Valley thought as well as to all other African thought. In fact, quiet as is kept, most of the civilized people of the world accepted that assumption as axiomatic.